Hi everyone, Natasha here, and around my home today I am in my living room so that I can share with you my 2019 bullet journal setup. So stay tuned and we will get started. Just off the bat here, I'll go over some of the supplies I used, my microns, which I might be switching more to these Tombow Mono drawing pens. This came in the boho berry box for January and I really like it. It seems like it's going to last a lot longer than my microns. I have the Tombow dual brush pen. The N95 is my new favorite. That light gray is just the color I've been wanting for the last couple of months. I have lots of other grays like these Crayola Super Tips, and this is a mild liner, but this was the really light gray that I was missing, so I'm happy about that. And I just picked that up at Michael's with my 40% off coupon. And then I also used the Tombow dual brush pen in 025. This I use mostly for my January setups, but that'll be a separate video, so I'm actually going to set that aside. And a little cheater that I did this month that worked out really well is this is just an earring card. I got some earrings on, but it's kind of that heavy plastic and it's just the right size for using as a template. So it works this way and this way for a couple of different layouts that I've used. So that's a tip if you have little things lying around. I've also picked up a few tags off of some items of clothing we got for Christmas, and they are a good size as well. And of course a ruler. Some of the resources I used were my Louise L. Hay Colors and Numbers book, and if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I use this to come up with my personal year focus or word. You know, my one word is actually based off of this, and then that gives me a little bit more of a guideline for the year and an affirmation to go with it as well. And then I didn't really look through it a lot, but I've read it and it was in the back of my mind while I was planning, is the Dot Journaling, A Practical Guide. This book by Rachel Wilkerson Miller was really inspiring to me when I read it last summer and got me back wanting to do bullet journaling, especially for memory keeping, not only for future planning. So I highly recommend that. I have not read the new book by Ryder Carroll yet, but I got it, and that's part of what I'm going to show you. The last thing that I want to show you though is just the standard notebook, and I used, look at my cute little paper clip there from the boho berry box for January. So I used that in preparation for setting up my bullet journal. And this is kind of a sneak peek, these arrows, as to the new method that I'm going to try this time around. So I went through and looked at a couple of my old notebooks when I was planning. So June through September of last year, or this year, 2018, I had a Leuchtturm, and then October through December has been this Uberworks notebook, which has larger grid spacing. They're both fine. I like them. I like that they have a couple of bookmarks and the elastic strap and some pockets. The one thing I'm really kind of itching to get into is a notebook with a brighter white color for the paper, and I debated about whether to try like the Scribbles That Matter notebook, or I think Hobby Lobby has a line that looks kind of interesting, but I had already gotten the bullet journal set that came with the book and this stealth version of the Leuchtturm 1917 official bullet journal notebook. That was a Christmas present, and I knew I really didn't need to be buying another notebook. And the other thing is, my number for 2019 is an 11 or a 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2, so you can break it down farther to a 2. But the colorway for that is black, white, or pearl gray. And I thought, well, it's kind of perfect. I've already got this black notebook. So I decided to go with the Leuchtturm. It'll be something that gets me through the first quarter, so maybe I'll look at switching to something else for the second quarter. But initially what I did was I kind of went through those old notebooks and made a list of collections that I knew I wanted to put into the 2019 journal. These are just some samples of titles and headings, which I don't do anything fancy. I still haven't mastered brush lettering. I have some tutorials and I might get better at it this year, but in the meantime, I can always do some cursive or some printing, and add some marker. So that's what I do. And then I also went through the calendar portion and really thought about what I wanted to add into this notebook, what order I wanted to go in, and why. And that kind of brings me to my setup. So this is a thing. I often lately think I almost wonder if I should switch to a pre-printed planner. And every time I do, I've mentioned this before, I start thinking about all the things that I like having in my notebook or in my planner that are specific to me, that I set up the way I want. Just little things like I love having the full size for Friday and Saturday because our plans are just as busy on Friday and Saturday as they are, or for Saturday and Sunday, I'm sorry, as they on the weekend, as they are through the week. So to me, it never works well when I get a pre-printed planner and it just has one little box for the weekend, or Saturday and Sunday are half the size of the rest of the days. So that's one thing. You know, there's other things like these collections that are just specific to me that I like to have. So that's why I keep going back to the bullet journal now, because it's always flexible. I can always try something new. And that's, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. So the official bullet journal method really is more about just going one page at a time and not pre-setting up a whole lot. But for me, my life is busy. I'm keeping track of volunteer, you know, things that I do with our community. We have some reoccurring annual events that I help with, so I'm always looking ahead quite a bit. My daughter's school schedule, we have a family business that has its own schedule, my husband's work schedule. Like, I just have a lot of schedules I'm keeping track of, and having it all on my phone works, but I like having it on paper so that it helps me think things through more. So that's why I'll kind of show you what I've decided to do. Is the first half of my notebook is calendar pages first, and I've pre-set up all the way through the end of January daily pages. And the back half of my notebook is going to be for collections moving forward into the middle of the notebook. And those collections are things that are either more reference material, or they're an annual tracker that it's all one page for the whole year. And what I found is in other notebooks, when I put all those collections in the front as I'm setting everything up, I don't use them, or I can't find them because they're mixed in with some calendar pages. So this is a little sticker that came from the Boho Berry box in November, what are we in? It was for January. We're in December, this was for January. So I just thought that was cute, and I put that there, and I thought how appropriate for what my 2019 year is. So I'll show you that in a little bit. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about how this stealth journal is different, other than it does have 3 bookmarks, and the pages have the black edges, and then it has some extra pre-printed pages like the key, these tips, and then at the back there's several pages just talking about the system. So my index, what I did then is I started at the beginning and I'm working my way down, but then at the back, the last page of the index, I have what I've done on the very last page and working inward. So I'm essentially working my way to the middle of the notebook. All right, and then I go into the first kind of spread here, and I have a wall calendar that I get every year, which is the Farmer's Almanac, and I usually get the gardening one. So this was the very last page of it. It was the back cover, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is too perfect. It's 2019 and 2020, the whole year at a glance. It fits beautifully on this page. So I just decided to slap that in there with some double-sided tape, and what I'm going to go through and do as I'm planning is add just a quick highlight for the days that my daughter does not have school. I got that idea from, it's Miss McKenna's Life Leverage here on YouTube. She has a great channel with lots of fun bullet journaling ideas. So you can check her out, but she mentioned that she did that for her son, and I thought, oh, that's perfect, because that's something I always lose track of, is what are those certain holidays we have, and it's nice to have a quick, easy reference right here when you're doing future planning. And then I did my 2019 holidays, again, things that I should know, but it's nice to have it written down so that when you're planning you can reference that. Okay, then this is something that I decided to kind of change up. So I have in the past done a future log. The last time I did it, I had 3 months per pages. So I had, 3 columns on each of these pages. So I had 6 months at a glance. And I did each of the months, little calendar like that, and then just a blank list where I could add in appointments and events. And what I ran into was that I ran out of room. And it was harder to plug all that information into my big calendar once I started planning for the month because things were out of date order. So I went back to Ryder Carroll's essential method, which is to have the numbers of the day, the dates on the left, the day of the week on the right here. I mean, you could flip-flop it, doesn't really matter. But I did like adding a space between each week. I saw that. Actually, I should back up. I got this whole spread idea because someone gave me a little freebie calendar it was essentially laid out similar to this. On the right, it was the list, and then on the left, it had the previous month's calendar, the coming month's calendar, and then a list for notes or reminders, I think it said. Well, I really like seeing the calendar. I'm a visual person, and I just need to see that. So I chose to do it that way. And then notes are going to be for appointments, reminders, holidays, birthdays, anything like that. Stuff like change the furnace filters, that kind of thing. Bills, I'm going to use this as my bill tracker for each month, and I'll show you a collections page in the back that corresponds to this. And in talking about that, one of the things that I'm always trying to keep track of is we have some taxes we pay with one of our businesses that are quarterly taxes. And then, insurance and different things fall twice a year, but at different times of the year. And then, of course, you have your other bills. Some of our bills are quarterly payments. Some of them are not. They have different quarters, all of that. So what I've run into is when I have just all of my bills on one page and make a yearly tracker, it's harder to keep track of those things that fall once every couple of months or once every 6 months. So by having the master list in the back, and then filling out each month with the bills that fall just in that month, I'm hoping that it's going to give me a better checklist to go by as I'm paying bills each month. And I have some of them set up on auto pay, but even with that, there's all the other stuff that just is a lot more to keep track of. So anyway, I took this idea from that little booklet because I was needing to just do some brain dumping and get some events on a calendar. So I started with that before I had a chance to set this up, and I loved it. And I thought, I'm just going to do the same thing in here. So I have all 12 months set up. This notebook will only get me through the quarter, but even now I start planning things for September, October, November, and December with our community and with some of our businesses. So it's just helpful for me to have all 12 months here. That way I can put things in, and it'll be easier once I get to the next, to the notebook that holds those months. I've already got that much more pre-planning done. So, okay, moving into, there's December. All right, so here is my personal year. Like I mentioned, this is the Louise Hay system, colors and numbers. So it's essentially numerology, if you've ever heard of that, but I just like her version of it because it just seems a lot, I don't know how to say it. I just like Louise. She does a good job of keeping things positive and, peaceful and loving. And there's just some positive things about her system that I like. So my year is an 11 or a 2 year, which means the keyword is intuition. There's some real interesting things in here. If you want to read it, you can. I like set new standards for yourself on the internal level, do more investigating on the spiritual metaphysical side of life. Universal love is more important. Prepare yourself. This is not a business year, although you'll have lots of ideas for later. Just all kinds of interesting things to think about. And then my affirmation is, I listen to the inner voice of wisdom. So this page, I don't look at it very often, but every month or so I'll go back to it and just read it and be reminded of kind of what the focus is for the year. And then, it's been interesting to see because I've done this now for, I guess, 2 years. And this current year, 2018, I really noticed how much the year just sort of followed along with what was in there. So it's really interesting to see that part of it too. Okay, and then I have a section for some big yearly goals that as a family, we'll kind of talk about, and well, personal ones will be for me, but just some things that I want to jot down and work on for the year. And that kind of ties into this page here, so that if I want to work on breaking down those goals, especially projects, into more specific steps that'll fall into different time periods, this will help me do that. And I got this spread idea from Alexis, aka Miss Trenchcoat. She has some great planning videos here on YouTube, and she also has her own line of digital planning products that you can download and print. She also sells a pre-printed planner with a lot of project planning pages and extra stuff in it. And I like her style, and I've thought about trying that pre-printed planner. Oh, it's getting late. But anyway, like I mentioned, I run into the problem of I still need more flexibility, and some of the pages don't work for me, or the layout doesn't work for me, or the setup doesn't work for me. So I'm trying this out. This is one of her spreads, just to see if I even like it, or if I use it, or if it's helpful. So we'll see. And then I get into my January pages, and I'm going to talk about those in a separate video. So this is not too long. It's already getting long, but anyway. So now I'm going to flip to the back. I started out with a grid spacing guide. This is an idea I got from Amanda Rach Lee, and she has a lot of great videos. This has been so helpful when I'm setting up everything. What I love about it is you can go through, and if you have certain spreads you always do that have certain box, sizes or shapes, you can mark all that down, and it's here. I meant to do it on this page, and she had her set up on this side when I was looking at her video, just to be reminded of how she did it. I ended up starting it over here, and I thought, oh heck, I'll just keep it. So who knows, maybe I'll put a quote there. I'll practice my brush lettering. All right, and then, so this is a page that I'm going to use as just an overall guideline for each month. So I'm not going to use this as a check or as a tracker. I just need a place to kind of get out of my head. I have a whole separate budgeting binder, but this just helps me as I'm thinking about things and going through my planning for the month. My husband gets paid weekly. One of my part-time jobs, I get paid. Well, actually, two of them. I get paid every other week, but they don't always fall in the same weeks. And then, we have some extra income from the side businesses and the family business that just come in whenever. But what I need to know is the bills we always have, how are they coming out of each week? Some certain ones are due each week. And then how does that come out of the income that we have that week? So this will be a good reference page for that. This is the page I mentioned that I'm using to help with those calendar pages at the beginning. So, I'm going to use this where I list out my reoccurring bills in date order, and I plug in the ones that are just happening every once in a while in the correct date order, and then just check off which month that's for, so that when I'm going through and listing my bills here, I have a quick and easy way to see and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So that's more of a reference one. Again, it's not really a checklist, or a tracker, it's a reference page. So this page, I wish I would have gone and gotten some double-sided tape. I had run out, and I thought, well, I'll just use a glue stick, but I'm not happy how it's curled the page, but oh well. Moving on. Just got to get over it, right? So this is a printout. It's a free printout from Ezzie Spencer's website, and she has a book called Lunar Abundance. I haven't read it. I'm sure I'd love it, but I just haven't read it yet. But I use this moon phase tracker as my menstrual tracker, and she also has a menstrual tracker, like a separate system you can use for that, and I just use her little symbols to track everything on here. But I also like using using the moon phase tracker for that reason, because I can kind of see how things fall each month and with the moon phases. And it's interesting to see. In the past, I've done more in-depth tracking of my cycle along with the moon cycle and the month, and it's interesting to see how my energy ebbs and flows and my mood ebbs and flows with the moon cycle and all of that. So that's that. I have a quick easy page here for mostly just for reference for the daily affirmations. Again, these are from the Louise Hay book. I pretty much have them memorized, so when I go through my planning, if I know it's a number 1 day, I know that the color to wear that day is red. I know that it's usually about starting new things, but it's just nice to have these back here in case I want to remember what the specific affirmation is. And then I've done enough YouTube now to know I need an actual workflow chart, because just trying to keep track of it in my head or jotting things down here and there isn't working as well. So I'll try to link below the person I got this idea from. She had a much more in-depth one, but she had a blog and Instagram stuff, and I don't mess with that right now. So I'll list out my YouTube videos, and then these are the steps. And I don't have an editorial calendar separately, but I'm hoping this will kind of work as a calendar, because I can do the date scheduled here on the gray side, and then whether or not it's been uploaded, I'll do a check mark there. Obviously a list for ideas and stuff to check out. So this is again an Amanda Rach Lee idea. I think she had divided hers in 4, and I may end up doing that, but you know, it's books you want to read, movies you want to watch, places you want to go. It can be whatever you want, but none of those things do I do enough of that I need a whole page dedicated to it. So I liked having just one page that was all those things you think, oh yeah, when I have time I want to look at that, and you can put it here. The menu ideas page, I debated about not even including that, but I would like to do just like a quick list of cold weather meals we like and warm weather meals we like, because in the end, that's all it comes down to. You know, for me, I'm more in the mood for soup and stuff in the winter, and chili and salads and sandwiches and wraps more in the summer. So that is it. Those are my collections. You can kind of see here, I did decide not to do this weekly planning checklist, weekly, monthly planning checklist, because I've done it almost every time, and when I start a new notebook and then I never go back to it. What I am going to do is add back in my little flip out, because this I use. So as I set up the week, I flip this open, and then I don't want to show you my written in pages because there's too much stuff in there I can't show you. But as I'm setting the week up, then I will use the weekly list to write out my weekly tasks, and the daily to write out the daily tasks. And it's nice because some weeks I just decide I don't need to worry about that, and so I don't put it on this list. But having it on the inside cover, it's really easy to flip it out and reference that and add it in. And this is giving you a sneak peek, which you can't see yet. So, oh, and then this is just a card. I have my monthly list there, which I don't even use that very often, but this was just some sticky notes, and I like keeping that all together in there. So that is my 2019 bullet journal setup. I'm excited to start a new year and get things going with a fresh start. Look at that. You can barely see anything because it's all black on my black desk, but I am looking forward to a fresh start for the new year. So I hope you're enjoying the holidays. I hope you're getting to rest and relax and reset. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below if you like my bullet journal planning videos or flip through videos. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to check out my January flip through, which will be coming out soon. Thanks, and bye-bye.